Good morning, everyone. I'm Jay Lenora Bressler, and welcome to the July 7, 2021 edition of the Bible, Delight in the Details, our second in a series of lessons about Job. Chapter 1 of Job is fascinating. We see the curtain pulled back in the courts of heaven, and we actually overhear a conversation between God and Satan. Now, it's interesting the name that we give this entity, this former archangel that fell and who was so prideful. We name him Satan because in chapter 1 of Job, he is described as the adversary. The accuser. And it's from that Hebrew name that we get the name Satan. As we know, names represent the quintessential nature of a person. Oftentimes it is their calling after they've had an encounter with the Lord. And because of Satan's arrogance and his sinful nature, he has become our accuser, our adversary. He is trying to strike at God through what God loves so dearly, and that is mankind. If somebody hated you and wanted to bring wreck and ruin upon you, what would they do? They would seek out to find what you loved the most and go after that, trying to bring you the most grief. And so that is exactly what Satan does. He is our accuser and our adversary, and we find that out at the beginning of Job. Now, in chapter 1, we notice that Job is, Satan has been roaming the earth. Obviously, that's where he is allowed to roam because he's been thrown out of heaven long ago. And God is very proud of Job. You know, if you were a parent, or even if you mentor someone and you feel almost like a parent to them, when they are doing well, when they are acting nobly and honorably, you are proud. And it's hard not for that pride to bubble over in a good way. You know, have you seen my boy? Have you seen my girl? Kind of thing. This is God theoretically pulling out his wallet and showing pictures of his children. And God does say to Job, well, in all your running around down there, have you considered my servant Job? And he's proud of Job. Job is an honorable man, righteous, not perfect, but striving to follow God. He is certainly someone who acknowledges the Lord and acknowledges him spiritually, prays, understands the temptation of sin, is trying to avoid it, and also praying to God on behalf of his children. He appears to be quite a magnet in business. He has 3 different industries. Everything, we could tell this from what his possessions are, that he's in at least 3 different industries, including trade, and is prospering. And then, of course, the adversary, the accuser, says to God, and why? Why is he such a favorite of yours? Because he is serving you because of the things that you give him. You have allowed his businesses to prosper. You have given him a happy, large family. But if you strike at these things, then he will curse you to your very face. And God has such confidence in Job that he says, no, he won't. And if you don't believe me, all right, you can try it. First, Job is attacked by Satan. We know that it is Satan is spurred on by this, but it is with God's permissive will. God allows this to occur, and everything happens to Job. Terrible things all at once, calamity after calamity. His children are killed. All 3 of his businesses are completely wiped out, and yet he does not curse God, and he does not sin. And then Satan comes back, and God says, see, I told you so. And he said, yeah, well, skin for skin. strike down his health, and then he will curse you. And God again gave Satan permission because he had such belief and faith in Job and in their relationship. And he said, you may attack his health, but do not kill him. And so Satan went back and gave him a terrible health condition, so bad that he had boils, terrible boils all over his whole body, to the point that all Job could do was go to a trash heap, dig out some pottery shards, and try to scrape himself. It is a terrible picture. Oh, how low the mighty have fallen, one is tempted to say. And yet, in all of this, we have that magnificent verse that comes toward the end of chapter 1, verse 22. Throughout all this, Job did not sin or blame God for anything. Now, it's interesting that sometimes when a calamity is fresh, when it is new, when you still have the reservoir of strength that you had from the good days, you feel like, I can get through this. This too will pass. And so maybe under the urgency of an immediate calamity, you are very strong. And Job was very strong. He did not sin. He did not curse God. And that is wonderful and greatly to be praised in Job. We will see, however, that as time goes by and we know that months have to pass in this just sordid condition, he is going to go through all of the different phases of grief and loss, and he will not always be as strong as in those initial moments. But that is a lesson for another day. Today, I just want to ask you this. If you are a believer in the Lord, if you are a follower of God, why? Is it dependent upon your circumstance? Is it because you feel like that, well, if I do right by God, he'll do right by me? Have you bought into this prosperity gospel stuff? Because the Bible does not guarantee that. Do you want a friend? Do you want a parent? Do you want a spouse who loves you only as long as you're giving them stuff? Do you want to feel that that relationship is contingent upon what they're doing for you? Well, this is what Satan is accusing Job of. And the Lord has such confidence in Job, in their relationship, in what it's really based on, that he's willing to put it to the test. What faith God had in Job. What belief God had in the relationship of why Job did honor and respect and revere and obey him. God knew what the ultimate result would be, but he wanted to show the world, yes, show Satan, show Job, show Job's friends, and show the world, for all of us in the millennia between the time that occurred and today, exactly what should be the basis of a relationship between a human being and the Lord. And it's not what God can do for you. It's because of who God is. In my wedding, in the prelude music, we had a song played, and one of the lyrics in that song was, when you can't see his hand, trust his heart. That is really ultimately going to be the lesson of Job. When you don't understand what's going on, when God appears to some people's vision to have turned against you, to become your enemy, when even you, who know better than that, might feel tempted to feel that way, when you can't see his hand, what he's doing, do you still trust in his nature, in his personality, in the experience that you have had with him? Why do you serve the Lord today? Let's be sure we're serving for the right reason, so that God can be proud of our worship of him. I'm J. Lenora Bressler. Visit me on the next edition of the Bible, Delight in the Details, as we look more at the lessons of Job. Have a great day.